Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar on I am Ross Grieve, and this is a webinar basics of color management, and that's what it's all about tonight. Getting into color management, it's not hard, and it's really simplifying, breaking down how to do that sort of thing so you find it easy, you get awesome prints, you get awesome online content, because it's not just about printing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go through some imagery tonight as well. So we've got lots going on in the next sort of hour. We're going to have a Q&A session as well. There's going to be some polls for you guys as well. So I'm going to start that off pretty soon. And so there's going to be a bit of interaction and obviously that Q&A session at the end. So I'm just going to start a poll now, which really is, how do you rate your color management knowledge? So if you just want to jump in there from 1 to 5, just to get an idea where everyone's at. Doesn't matter if you're a complete beginner or you're an expert for years and years and years, but just to give us an idea on when you're at, and that would be amazing. So I think just waiting also for people still sort of coming in, because it's just gone 6 and we've started bang on time as well, which is pretty good going. So I'm just going to share my screen as well, so you'll see a bit more and not so much of my my face there. So I'm going to just let that poll run for another 50 seconds. And at the moment, it's a nice even keel, really sort of, there's 4 experts in there at the moment. So that's making me sweat a little bit, but it's a nice sort of median of people who want to learn about color management. And that's really what we're here about. And we learn off each other as well. That's one of the main keys as well. So I'm just going to end that now and just see where we're at. So 5, 3, 2, 1, we end this poll. Okay, so 39% of people are in the middle. So beginners, just sort of in the intermediate level of color management, which is fantastic. We're going to look at a couple of products tonight as well, which is the Calibrite 123, which is available on back order, and actually take you through the Calibrite profiling software, which is ridiculously easy. So you'll learn about that as well. So I'll just bring up my screen and we can dive into it. So all going well. You should be able to see my screen. Okay. So, okay, guys. So who am I? My name is Ross Grieve. I am a street photographer. I'm a portrait photographer and a commercial photographer. I used to do weddings, all these sort of things, or any image we take, including filmmaking, involves some form of calibration. And we're going to dive into that as well. I've always been fascinated with color and printing as well. I believe print is king, but obviously with the digital era that we're in now, we have to focus more on screen so much, but I like the fact you can walk past an image every day and you'll see something different about it. So that's really, really fantastic. So where do we begin? Do we begin with that calibration? A calibrated screen is a really, really happy place to be. So I've said, just to give you an idea, what I sort of work with, I'm working with 2 screens here. So just to make it a little bit bigger for you. This is where we begin. So I've got 2 screens going on here, and that's what I work with every day. So I used to work with 2 screens, one being an iMac and one being a BenQ monitor. And iMacs are notoriously hard to calibrate, one because they're glossy, but they just tend to use their levels a lot quicker. So once you change into a sort of a higher end photographer's monitor, so to speak, you'll notice a difference and you won't come back. That is my chair squeaking, by the way. I would like to point out I've got the squeakiest chair in the world. So when we go back and we look at our calibration, we look at what do we start with. And you start with an on-screen device to calibrate your screen. And the reason for that is so you start with that base layer. So when I'm actually shooting as well, I always start just with the standard profile. I don't go into like vivid or anything like that, but that's a personal preference because I want to get skin tones. And we're going to jump into that now because one of the reasons I got into into color management because one of the biggest mistakes I made, and I was out in Sweden photographing CD cover, and this is Susanna Anderson. She's a soprano. And I was out there and I set this beautiful shot up with a beauty dash. It was lovely. I did not have a color checker at the time. I didn't use a color checker. I didn't calibrate my screen because I was of the mentality, my eyes are good enough. And I would hold a print up next to the screen and go, yeah, that's about that right. That's pretty good, which really is pretty arrogant in a way and not very professional of me to sort of behave. So I had these beautiful tones and everything was obviously too rich. This is magenta rich, and I just could not pull it back to what I wanted to a true skin tone without spending hours and hours just tweaking it. So I was annoyed at myself and I let myself down by that. That year I actually went to the photography show, which was Focus at the time, and I met the guys from X-Rite at the time, which now powers Calibrite, and they got me into calibration. And it was the best thing I ever did because the amount, my workflow has gone down because I can now concentrate on the images rather than, and taking photos and great photos rather than spending loads of time color correcting, because that's what a lab used to do. So what did I do in this situation that I've got this fantastic shot, but I've ruined it by poor color management on my part. So what does everyone do? Of course, they changed it to black and white. That is your savior at the end of the day. And that's what I did. Changed it to black and white, but I'd sort of lost the mood of it and I was still kicking myself about that. But that's something you have to deal with. Now, there's other situations where you will get into that you can't use calibration on site. So you can't use a color checker card. Street photography is one of those examples. This is my good friend, Scott Johnson, who takes wonderful wedding photos. And I've made a custom print Johnson's Bush Market, which is Shepherd's Bush Market. So I wanted this sort of tone look to them, but I started from that base layer to get to this. So it's sort of that dirty, gritty street look, but I started with a standard profile on a calibrated screen. So when this is printed, this is going to look how I want it to look. And also when we print, there's two different things profiles are going to work in. When you print, to get the best out of your colors, you want to work in CYMK. And I know a lot of people work in sRGB. That's okay. What works for you is important. But I prefer, if I'm going to publish online, I'm going to publish in sRGB. If I'm going to print, I'm going to use CYMK. That's just more color. It gives a bigger color gamut as well for me. So that works for me quite nicely. If you've got any questions, guys, please ask them throughout as well. There is going to be a Q&A at the end. We've got people from India. That's fantastic. Listening in, thank you very much. Alan, thanks very much. JR, thank you very much as well. So just keep that chat going, but we'll try and answer ones as I go or towards the end. Okay. So our second poll, which I'm going to try and go, I'm using a new system now, which is much more fantastic, and I've got lots of buttons to push. Okay, so the poll is going to be, as I scroll down, do you calibrate your screens? Go. If you can answer now. First question, yes, very regularly. That's great to see, because I've done a talk and people have looked at me. I said, I've asked the same question. How many people have you calibrate the screens to 100 people? And you may get 5 people that will stick their hand up. Be honest. And I'm glad some people are. Quite a few people are saying, I never calibrated my screens. Because it's one of those things as photographers or creators, we sort of look over. I mean, you can calibrate your phone. You can calibrate your mobile, your laptop, your screens, your desktop. And it's one of those things that seems mundane, but it's not. And it's just such a simple thing to do, because your work is going to get noticed more. And I really implore you to look at cinema photographers as well. Lawrence Sher, for example, as well, who did the first Joker movie. have a look at his talk on color and how he uses color and the strength of color and how they grade color. We're going to go into that later as well, grading and presets. Okay, so this is a really interesting poll. It's pretty even between people who have never calibrated and people who calibrate regularly. There's a couple of people who do it once or twice a year. I'm going to pop you into the I've never calibrated my screens before category. And I love the only when I think to. So that's a really interesting result. I actually thought I was going to get less people saying that they had calibrated. So that is encouraging, guys. Well done. And if you do your calibration, you're going to have beautiful photos like this coming through as well. So you've got those skin tones, you've got the amazing colors that's showing the detail and the shadows. So you've got your whites, your blacks, you're going through your tone, your color range, and that's what you want to show off. You want your client, especially if you're using fashion or you're doing food, which we will come to, what your eye is seeing, what your clients to see as well. There's two things: what your eye is seeing and what your client, what your customer, what your friend wants to see. So those are two really important things that you have to consider. So let's quickly talk about equipment. Let's geek out a little bit because we like to talk about equipment. What do I use? I shoot on mirrorless cameras. I shoot it on Lumix cameras as well, which is 45 here, and the one behind me, we've got a S1H there. Microphones, external, if you're doing filmmaking, fast memory cards in the day. You may think I'm sorry going off cue a little bit, but I'm sort of coming around to where we are. These are all things we need to carry with us. If you've got backup as well, you want hard drives, software, Lightroom, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Calibrite Profiler, which we're going to look at as well. And devices, color checker, and back at home with your computer, or if you're mobile, your Calibrite 123, or also a Display Plus, which is sort of next level up from the Display 3. So a Calibrite 123 is entry level, and it just gets the basics done for you, gets you on the way, gets your foot in the door, so to speak. So screen calibration, what do we do? I'm going to show you what we do and how simple it is. So all going well, hopefully this should work. I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to make myself bigger. Stop the screen share. Yay, hopefully you can all see me. Fantastic. And we're going to open up Calibrite Profiler. I've already got my Calibrite 123 plugged in. Nice. I'm looking, if a reason I'm looking at a monitor here so I can see what you guys are seeing as well. Now I've got two monitors, so it's identifying both monitors here, and it's also giving me the chance to choose if I want native, if I want photo. Now this is step one, and if you want to know what native does, it literally tells you what it does. Native is a default. Calibrate your monitor, maintaining the brightness of your monitor unchanged. Photo, calibrate your monitor to the standard brightness level of 120 CDM squared. I tend to go for that. I'm not going to take you through everything but I'll show you how easy it is to do. Now, we're going to go to next. So this is step one of 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it tells you what it wants you to do. It wants you to place your 1, 2, 3, literally on like that. Now, just hanging straight down isn't good enough because we need to tilt, and it's even telling you to tilt. And then I'm on there. There's a weight behind which you can adjust. And then it'll ask, do you want to measure? I'll click measure. I'm going to cancel it so you can see what it looks like. So screen 3. Now that's measuring the brightness. And at the moment, that brightness needs to come down a bit. It's telling me it's too bright. Now I've got a hot puck here, which allows me to just dial it down to what it needs to be. So I just need to bring it down a bit. I want to get it in that green area, around 120. There you go, 121. 125, bring it down one click. And that's down to 123. Maybe one click again. And it's all 1, 2, 1. So I'm happy with that. Then I'll go next, 3, and then it'll measure for me. It's as simple as that. And then it'll measure the device as it started doing. Now, do I want to cancel that? Yes, because I don't want to go through all the colors and do that again for you. The same, measuring the device, do not move, but I'll cancel it. And that's your third step. And what's going to happen at the end, it's actually going to say, do you want to save this profile? You can name the profile. Do you want a reminder? Yes, I do. It'll give you a reminder for your profile as well. So everything is done for you. And then it's as simple, it's cliche as it sounds, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to cancel that now. I'm going to quit it, reduces back down, take that off. Put my screen back down the way I want it. And then it would set the options up for when you want to do it next. You can check your version. You can get the latest updates as well. I've got another device, which is this one here, which is the Display Plus HL. And this just takes it to another level. You can tweak a bit more in it. You've got a bit more control over it as well. So you've got options for also the Calibrite 123 is the most affordable calibration device on the market at the moment as well. So that's worth thinking about when you want to get into it. So when something that's easy and it's going to make your work look better, I think you're onto a winner. So I'm just going to reduce this down, get back into where we should be. And I'm going to share my screen again for you. Any questions, guys? Pop them in. And I'll just have a quick look in the chat, see what questions we've got going. Diane from Missouri, how's it going? David, is there a CYM K color export and light? I believe there is. And will there ever be a need to calibrate the LED screens on today's cameras? That's a really good question. And you couldn't actually do it, but because you're shooting to card, your final source where you're going to do all your editing is probably where you really want to control, because yes, you can see what's going on camera, and that's why I shoot it standard. I don't shoot it vivid. But if you want to sort of do where you're going to do editing, that's where your screen calibration is really, really important. Just a couple more questions and then I'll jump back into the rest of it, guys. So this is interesting. I've started negative photography, shooting on 6x6. Absolutely fantastic. I love shooting film. Now, how's this going to work? Here's a color checker passport. Well done, mate. And how do I use a color checker in this situation? So when you're shooting a color checker, we're going to go into tones and black and whites and stuff. So Papa, that'll be relevant to you, mate. And a little bit for there's loads of questions coming in. I'm going to answer most of these because a few of them are the same. Steve, the session will be recorded and made available to those who have registered. Right, there's lots of people talking about color profiles. I'm going to talk about those towards the end. But for now, there's some great questions coming in. So I just need to jump back in. There we go. Right. Okay, so screen calibration, that was really, really simple, wasn't it? And when you start out doing your photography, start out simple as well. You keep things simple, life's a lot easier. So I was really fortunate a few years ago to be asked if I want to fly out to Japan and photograph a Michelin star chef and his food. And I really had to think about it. I think it was about 2 seconds before I agreed I would go out. So we went out there. We had a great team. I had an assistant out there, I had a creative director, I had a stylist. And the stylist out there wasn't a food stylist, but a stylist who was providing elements that I could use and choose to put in the photo. So we worked together to decide what was going into each photo. You'll see some behind the scenes stuff coming up too. But the way I work with food photography is very, very simple. Try and keep it clean as you can, clean lines. But every photo we took, we put a color checker in front. And you'll see, I'll show you some behind the scenes soon, and everything will start to make sense. So this was actually matcha and banana ice cream. Now, the good thing about working with this chef is that because we didn't use a food stylist, means we could eat the food afterwards, and it was amazing. I mean, he would encourage me quite a lot to sit down and try his food. And yes, we had a very good friendship of food. Again, complementary colors, getting the tones right, really, really will help your food photography or any photography. Tones are important with your photography. Excuse me. To make things pop. So the green line going through, horizontals, or the spoon complements the herbs going through. There's little things like that. The vertical lines of the napkin, again with the horizontal lines of the placement underneath. These are all little things that go on in my head. And then how am I going to make that food pop? I try to shoot everything I can right in camera. And I want to shoot everything with some negative space. I'll do 3 shots. There was a square, there was a sort of 30-degree, and there was one to the side, which is space for text. So editors love that. So they can write recipes down the side. They can write whatever they want. They can be part of a feature article. If you get a double-page spread, a DPS of your work, well, that's amazing. And that's what we want to sort of encourage. So what was the setup? Excuse me. What was the setup? So I'm out in Japan. I've just taken my cameras out there. That's all I've taken. So it's a really simple setup. So I've got my laptop, I've got my cameras, and the reflectors you'll see there I took as well. Lights were obviously hired out there. When I got out there, I calibrated my monitor, and I also calibrated the TV screen as well. So the TV screen was there for the client to see, and I wanted those to match, and they did. And because the client was Panasonic, we were very, very fortunate to have a huge resource of good quality monitors there as well. Now, because that was a TV, my mind was a bit like, okay, is this going to be as accurate as it was? To be fair, it wasn't too bad. And it gave a really good impression. And then the creative, yes, I really like that. That's signing off. You'll notice that if those who you are eagle-eyed, you'll notice I've actually taped down the placemat on the right-hand side just to stretch it. Otherwise, it would just condense, and it just wouldn't look right at the end of the day. So it just gives that nice, keeps all the lines in it straight as well. So what you can't see, you don't know about. The reflector, they're really, really portable as well. They just pop down. But this is one of the key images that you should see. So every dish had the color checker put in front of it as well. So that's going to help me later on when I'm doing my retouching and stuff, and I'm getting my white balances, I'm doing a matrix. Now, a little word of advice. If you look at the top, if you look at the image here, you can see a thumb. You shouldn't, your thumb or hand should be out of all parts of that. You want to be able to measure the matrix. So I think actually her thumb is just outside the measuring area, which you can see. So, but try and keep your hands and fingers away from the matrix or the dots or the squares, and certainly don't touch them because they're scientifically printed as well, and you don't want to mess those up. And then we just carried on. We shot so much food, and it was just constant. I flew out on the Thursday, had Friday rest, shot Saturday, Sunday, flew back on the Monday. It was intense. Then turn around all the content to have it to them by the Thursday with jet lag. That was a lot of fun. So just let you know, guys, also Kate's in the background. She'll be trying to answer some questions for you as well that may be, but not all questions that may be relevant to me. So you may see some answers coming up. Okay, so moving on. And this is the other angle we're talking about. When you look and you want to make it pop, you want to make your food look like you want to eat it. That's how food photography should be taken. There's a lot of photography you'll see today, which is set in the scene, the ambience, the warm lights, which is beautiful. And I really like some of that as well. It's done very well. There's also the clean, clinical food, which the client wanted here as well. So software I touched on earlier. Software I use, and I'm sure most of you guys use as well, is Lightroom, Photoshop. If you're shooting video, you'll be using Premiere Pro. And of course, as you saw just before, the Profiler as well. And that makes life so much easier. The profiler works with any one of the devices, like the Display 123 or the Display Plus HL, which I've got. I've also got a i1 Studio as well. And that's really good if you are printing. You can go really in depth for your printing as well. So there's a lot of tools out there, which is so simple to use. And I like before how someone said, I calibrate my monitor often. And that's really, really encouraging to see, because that means I know that person is going to be printing. That's going to be fantastic. And don't be afraid to talk to your lab or wherever you're getting your prints as well. If something comes back and you're not happy with, talk to them, because they're not going to know if they're sending it back to you and they don't know if it's not where you expected. I've got a printer I use, and it's been a fault on my part, and sometimes it's been a fault on his. I've sent it to him and it hasn't been quite right because I hadn't calibrated my monitor. I was in a rush. And he sent it back because he had issues with his printers. But we work together and we get an end solution, and we're both happy at the end of the day. Previous labs I've had, back in the day, I would have black and whites coming back with a magenta cast on it. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Color science. Now, science, what the hell is that? Some of you guys are thinking. Color science refers to each camera. Each camera that you use has got a different color science, a different makeup. So if I shoot on a Sony, if I shoot on a Nikon, Lumix, whatever, even model number, the color science that manufacturers put in here is going to be slightly different. To give you an example, I was shooting on Lumix GH4, and then they brought out the G9, and I whinged and moaned, GH5, and I'd whinged and moaned to them about that their color science was magenta rich. It was too green. So the next time they brought out a camera, it was the G9, and it actually had in it, they put some green into it, so the magenta would drop down and the skin tones are much better and much more pleasing because they listened. And that's when I was out in Japan actually trying to look at a camera, how it works. But if I got all my cameras together, and they do change from model to model and new one coming because they want to improve, the color science would be different. So that's when your color checker comes in, your display 123 comes in. So you've got an accurate monitor so you can see the difference. And if you can see the difference, your eye gets used to seeing good, accurate color, and you will pick up color cast. It's absolutely crazy, but your eye will get used to picking up color cast. You will look at color completely different when you start watching TV, movies, looking at paintings. Sorry, I'm going to ruin stuff for you slightly, but you start deconstructing, how did they light that? What color temperature? What have they used? And we'll talk about presets and LUTs later as well. But color science changes per camera, and just because you buy a new camera, it's not going to be bang on. So take that into consideration as well, because that does catch a lot of people out. Keep the questions going, guys, because there's going to be quite a few to answer, I can see. So when we're shooting commercial, this was at the Waldorf Astoria in Ras Al Khaimah. This is Umi's private dining room, which is a Japanese restaurant in the hotel. And they wanted a beautiful photo of it. I've showed this a few times because it's a really good reference point of warmth and color in a photo. So they wanted to highlight the richness of the photo in there, of the fabric in there, and they wanted to highlight the warmth and privacy of the room in there because there's a lot of shadows and dark things and dark colors going on there. So that's what I did my best to cover for them, and it kind of worked. They loved it. They really did. So we've got the richness and the fabric and the textures going on and that has to represent their brand. It has to look exactly the same that their guests are going to look at. So again, we're talking about getting the colors accurate and bang on. That has to be spot on. So when we're shooting people, the same thing happens, except we're talking about skin tones. We want to get those skin tones absolutely bang on across everyone. And what's great is when you're shooting a family and one member has got sunburn or something like that, and you've got to try and balance that out. That's the name of the game, but that's what that we let ourselves into. But skin tones are the primary thing I look for when I'm editing in Lightroom and getting the colors correct. There's a slight, as you can see, the suntones are nice and even over the whole family. It's not reworked, it's just the way it's lit. Sometimes the way you light things will help you with your colors as well, whether it's high in contrast or deep in saturation. That will affect it as well. So color grading. Now, this color grading can be a nightmare for some people. Color grading can be your worst nightmare because presets can be really dangerous. LUTs, you heard me mention before. So lookup tables, they are what? Presets basically for videos. So you edit your video and then you can drop a preset or LUT onto that. So in Lightroom, we've got our presets. You can create your own presets. You can buy presets. Now, there's some really, really good presets out there. Don't get me wrong. I create all my own presets because I know the ones that I use for black and white, for desaturated, gritty looks, for sport photos, for commercial work. I sometimes may even create presets for a specific client because that's the look they want. And that's how you should get into. So if you're shooting in your studio, you want to have that consistent look time and time again, create a preset for that. Create a color preset for it, that studio, name it, what it is, and that'll make your workflow a lot easier as well. And it'll control your colors a lot more because then you'll be thinking, how did I get back to that? Rather than loading in the raw file, looking at the adjustments and stuff. Save that preset. That's going to save you a lot of time. Rather than buying a preset that you've seen someone else use, and remember, this is someone else's preset, clicking on it and wondering, why are my photos looking odd? And that's because that's their lighting control and stuff. But there's a wide sort of selection of presets that can be sort of general and basic, and we'll cover a lot. But just be careful when you're using them. So that's your first point of call. Say hello to Andre. Andre's a lovely chap. Works for Lemiska. He'll be very happy he's being featured. So this was shot at the photography show. Every day I would always check with the color checker. And then we had a calibrated monitor there, which the colors were absolutely amazing when you saw them coming up. So if you look at behind him there, it's quite a gray background, and that's non-calibrated behind. And then if you look at the next one, we've got the gray. It's got a green coming through it as well. But his skin tones are bang on compared to a bit magenta rich in this one here. And that's what I want to see. I want to see those skin tones. And I know I'm banging on about skin tones a lot, but that's what's important. So if we back into the studio, we've got full control. So even when you're editing, before I edit any retouch or anything, I will get that skin looking as good as gone. And looking as good as I mean by having that fantastic sort of tone and skin and color in the skin. Skin that looks living, if you like, not really pale. Sometimes that pale look can be effective. Left one is retouched, right one is not retouched. So that just gives you an idea that color, those colors match. Also I chose this one because it's got the back of the palms. This area will generally be a lot more pinker and shown a lot more magenta. So just be careful when you're doing a pose like that and how to control it. Sometimes go black and white if you need to. And then we're using tones of the fabrics and the skin and complementing. We're getting separation with the background, just with the hair lights and stuff. You can see the light just kicking into the tops of the eyes. So that's little ideas. Work to a color palette. That's another strength you should work to as well. If you've got an idea in your head, try and work to a color palette, because the tones will go through from the clothing, through to the makeup, through to the hair, through to the skin tone. And man, does it make your images pop. So, time for another poll, guys. I'll just jump into the polls and see what we go now. Right. And I've just lost my poll, sorry. Okay, so what we're going to ask you now is, what is the most important thing to you about color calibration? Is it true color? Is it true tone? Or is it both? Go. There's 159 of you in here at the moment. So I might ask you this question again at the end, because it's quite interesting. Most of you are on the money. I'll give you that. But so we've been talking about color, true colors. We're going to delve into tone just after this poll. And that'll give us about, we have another 10 minutes of listening to my voice. And then we're going to answer your questions the best way we can, which will be my voice again. So it's really encouraging to see that quite a few of you guys are taking on board. I'm not going to let you know what the results are until the end, because I might run this one again. It's very, very interesting. So last 20 seconds of this poll to go. So if you haven't placed your vote, get in there and place it now, guys. Coming up at last 10 seconds now. It's very surprising. And it sort of shows what people are more passionate about when they answer this question. Okay, that's that poll finished. Thank you for taking part in that. Appreciate that. Right. So our next subject, tone. Now, just because we talk about color management doesn't mean we leave out our good friends, black and white. Now, when we look at black and white, we look at tone. And there's my good friend, James Musselwhite on the left. This was photographed at the photography show as well. And then we've got Tim, who runs a fantastic B&B in Northern Ireland. He's a photographer as well. Bumped him every year at photography show. And now, lit exactly the same way, different poses, lights in the same position, 45 degrees up. You see the highlights in James' eyes. You just see the highlights and the small highlights in the top of Tim's eyes. No reflection on the glasses, which is always a bonus. But it's about the tone. So we want to get good black and white tone going from black all the way through to white. I don't want any middle gray area or very flat. That's my preference. I prefer to have good color or good tone going through it. And if you get that tone, it just makes it more punchy, makes it more real, makes it more engaging. You go, oh, that's really cool. Like you can see the leather and on Tim's jacket, his watch, that's not a tattoo on his hand. That's actually where his cat scratched him. So there's a lot going on each one. James just comes in. He's got this fantastic jawline. Don't tell him that. But he photographs really well, does the pose. And there we go. It was a bit of fun at the time. So yeah, it was all good and great for them to pop by. Moving on to photographing other people. So we've got a couple of models here. This is Kieran on the steps here, lit from the side, one light on the steps. And again, we've got that deep masculine tone going from the whites to black. And then we've got Alice on the right, very nice shape going down, sort of mimicking the cherubs at the top, going all the way down. So, and then this is one light from the side as well. And then, of course, we've got light behind. But we've got the shape, the definition, and the tone. And that's what we're on about, getting the color, the tone, absolutely spot on. And this was another one from that photo shoot that I did in Sweden. And this was actually the cover they chose. So if you want to find out how people actually light their subjects, whether it's daylight, using a reflector in a studio, have a really good look at their eyes. That'll be a giveaway. Now, some people may retouch out if they don't want two lights in. They'll just keep the one highlight in, which gives life to an image as well. Gives a bit of soul to it, gives a bit of purpose to it. If Susanna didn't have that light in her eye, which was a square softbox at the time, it'd be really, really hard to make that look lively. And you look straight at her eye, And then you go sort of follow your cheekbone down, and then you see the droplet of the earring. So it's a nice flow going back to it, and it worked really well, and it was really, really successful for it too. So think about how you're lighting it, how your tones are. Tones do apply in color as well, but more so in black and white. Think of your colors, because just remember, your eye isn't good enough. And that's the key thing you need to remember. Your eye isn't good enough. So this was a street photograph I took. Now, I can't run up and use a color checker in this situation. I can only work off what I can see there and then bring it back and give it the look that I want in Photoshop. So I'm shooting on a standard profile. I'm bringing it into Lightroom. I'm doing the tweaks that I would like. Remember, I'm starting at that primer, that base layer, which is that standard platform. You can create a profile that you want in Lightroom as well using the matrix. Don't forget that. Working on a calibrated monitor. So whatever I see on the screen there is going to print out beautifully. Now, if I put my screen beside your screen, this is going to look different. Unless all those people who said they do calibrate, we would have a pretty fair chance of having something very, very similar. Also, the lighting situation that I'm in is different to yours as well. So normally I would also have hoods on the monitors as well. I've only taken them off just because they were sort of in the way for the webinar, but I'd have the hoods on the BenQ monitors, and that just absorbs some of the light out as well, because these monitors are like editing on photographic paper. And that's what you want to be looking at. You know, my eyes aren't good enough to go, right, I know what that color is. I need the tools to be telling me what the color is. And you do know after you've done a calibration, when it actually shows you the difference, and it might be a slight shift, but there is always a difference when you calibrate your screen, and you will be surprised on what it does. So I think that's really cool. So we've got another poll coming up, guys. And I'm going to take you through to that one. And now, the last one, which I think is pretty much normally asked at the start. After all of this, I'd be quite interested to see what your primary genre of photography is. So if you want to go now and answer, so we've got wedding, fine art, landscape, portrait, street, wildlife, and other. For those who are doing other, pop something in the chat what you're doing. Fine art, absolutely. All these elements, you need to have calibration because you're looking to sell prints. Street photography, I'm a big fan of. Wildlife, weddings is really, really important too, because I remember being shooting, I am in New Zealand, by the way, let's get that right. But I shot a wedding in Melbourne, Australia. The bride had this dress that was ever so slightly, had a slight peach tint to it. It was a really beautiful dress, slight peach tint. I had to get that bang on. They spent loads on it. They didn't expect just to have photos back with a white dress. They wanted that tint in there, and I had to nail that absolutely. So I had color checker with me, and when I edited, it was back in the on a calibrated monitor, so I knew my equipment was doing their job for me. So I don't have to stress about it. I know I'm going to get everything right. So when the prints came back and the album was ready, they look absolutely spot on. And when I sent them stuff to view online, they were blown away as well. But this is what also gets me when people view, say, on Facebook or whatever, and they may say something about your imagery because Facebook compresses your images, ruins a lot of photos. So a little tip, if you're going to upload to Facebook, don't upload JPEGs, upload PNG files. It'll hold the colors a lot better as well. But yeah, get those colors bang on, and your customers will just think the world of you. So we're going to have a super quick recap, guys, and I mean super quick, and that means you're going to have my face back. So we've talked about equipment, we've talked about software we use, we've gone through an online demonstration and showed you how easy it is to calibrate your monitor. and glad to see people do it frequently. We've talked about different styles like food photography, portrait photography. I haven't even taken you into, but I'm going to just dive into one other thing which I did leave off before the recap, which I did mean to do, and we're going to dive into our good friend Lightroom. So here we are. So these were shot at the photography show, and we were on stand, and you'll see here, yeah, I've got, I just want to hide that because I don't think you guys need to see that. Oh, beg your pardon. Don't want to hide the whole thing. And I've lost my screen, and just bear with it, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So I seem to have lost where I am. Beg your pardon. Bear with. There we are. I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Right. Share the right screen does help. Right. Let's bring it up again. We always love a little technical hitch. Right. Run my entire screen to be shared. Okay. And for some reason, I'm not being able to share Lightroom. And Lightroom. There we are. We're back. Right. We want this screen. There we are. Sorry about that, guys. So if you look along the bottom here, you'll see, move that out the way. That's what I meant to do before. You'll see we've selected some images here, some lovely, beautiful images that were taken on the stage. And what you don't see is in between them, we're using color checker all the way. So we're frequently checking out the colors, making sure everything is correct again and again, because you want everything to be absolutely spot on. And the more frequent you do it, the more you get used to that habit, the better your photos are going to be. Your print quality is going to be amazing. So we've got a great, so that now I'll show you very quickly how to do it. This is how simple it is. Okay, so you go into Lightroom, you hit D, which brings up your options for develop. Take the little picker and then go back to E. And you should have seen that change. So it's got rid of all the green and the true skin tones are there. There's your before and after. You can see green's gone. That's true. So hopefully you will see that again. So, right, let's dive in and hello, I'm back, and answer some of your questions. So let's start randomly. Okay. Great, Diane, thanks. Yes, the 123 is bought as a separate device. If you go onto the Calibrite website, or if you go on to, I beg your pardon, I think it is Park Cameras, you'll be able to just have a look there as well. Park Cameras is in the UK. Peter has a display studio. What software should be using, Peter? Just go and use the Calibrite Profiler, and you'll be able to calibrate with that, mate. That'll be no problem at all. I talk about the difficulty of calibrating Macs. That's from experience, Jerry, because it's been so reflective. So starting off, you'll find a lot of difficulty with, say, getting the brightness right and dialing that down, the contrast. There's just, they're just not as accurate because they're made for a mass market. And I know, obviously, these are made for specific. These are hybrid monitors. This is a SW271C, which I'm using. I've got a Mac Studio running here as well. So it's quite high-powered stuff, but I know this is what I need to work for me when I'm editing video and when I'm editing stills as well. What are the main differences between the Calibrite Color Checker, Display Pro, and the 123? Calibrite Color Checker, which is my device, which which I've got the video one just over the back, as you saw the card. That's your white balance and your profiling, which you take a photo of. So you can create your profiles in Lightroom and you can get your white balance right. So when you're looking at the Calibrite 123, that's calibrating your screen. And also the Display Pro will calibrate your screen as well, but to a more in-depth level where you'll have more options and you'll be able to customize that more, which you can't customize with the 123. Just everything for you. It's entry level, and that's the whole point, to get you into calibration so you can start getting better results coming out from your printer or on screen as well. Let's have another quick scan. Age of screens does have an effect as well, guys. So if you're wondering about that, that is just a fact of life, I'm afraid. Is it best to edit? And this is from James. Is it best to edit in Adobe RGB and save the image as a CYMK for print? Yes. Adobe RGB, difference between sRGB and Adobe RGB. You've got more colors in Adobe RGB, so you want as much color and true tone. So, in answer to your question before on the poll, both was the correct answer, which was, I think it was 89% of you did. So yes, you want to edit when you're printing out with the most amount of color and the most accurate amount of color possible as well. Okay, so a lot of people talking about shoot raw, RGB, convert to JPEG, same color space, print using CYMK. Try and print CYMK. What I would suggest is speak to your lab as well, what they would receive, because some labs will quite happily take sRGB, and that may be all you need. They may do the tweaks at their end, and that may be their workflow. Just talk to them, reach out to them and say, look, I've watched this, and he said about printing with CYMK or Adobe RGB, sorry. What do I need to send you? What files do I need to send you? If you're going to send digital files, or you're going to upload anything online, it's going to be sRGB. So websites, anything like that. If you're going to print, when I talk print, I'm talking brochures, signage, that sort of thing. If you're going to do photos, then I'm talking you're using a color space of Adobe RGB. If that makes sense. It looks like some of the food shots are directly over the food. How do I do that? Simply, I just lean over the food. It's as simple as that. The table is lower, so you can lean over, and I just do it handheld. It works for me. Some people will get a tripod, which will go right over the food, and I just find leaning over works best for me. Shot on a 24 to 105. It's got image stabilization on it as well. Shot about 100th of a second, and that's how I work. Gosh, there's lots of questions, guys, which is absolutely fantastic. Alison, what do we have to know about color science to relate it to our own colors? You said it can catch people out when you get new cameras. How do we deal with it? Fantastic question. So say you've got camera A, which you've had for, I don't know, 5 years, and you bought camera B, which is your new one. And so the colors are going to be a little bit different. It's fine when you're photographing with them. That's no problem at all. It's when you bring those files together. So you're doing 2 cameras on the one shoot, and you want to make sure those colors match. So that's when you're using your color checker for each lighting situation and for each camera. And then when you bring them in, you're going to be on a calibrated screen. So everything should look the same after you've done your white balancing and with your color checker. So that will help you there. And you will notice a massive difference. There is actually, I don't want to spend too much time on the color checker because that's a whole new sort of webinar on its own. But it's as simple as process of the grid, hold it with the back of the camera. The matrix, which has got all the squares, that's what you want to photograph and try and hold it in the level plane to someone's face as well. That's what you want to do when you want to create a profile from that situation, which you can save in Lightroom. There is some great simple webinars on that process and the steps to follow, but it's really easy to do. So it's literally hold it, take a photo, then flip around, use the gray card as well, so you've got both, and that'll get you going. So there's quite some other, thanks guys. Jerry, I asked for you guys to put in the comments what type of photographer you are. Jerry is a macro photographer. Gosh, you must have a lot of patience. Roy, sports photographer, another sports photographer. Wow, a few sports photographers in here as well. Food photographer, Kristen. Industrial photographer, JR. And scientific, Claudel. That's really interesting. And I'll tell you what, there's Graham Aircraft, Gary Astro. You've got patience, mate. So there's some really diverse amount of people in here tonight. And I really hope that you've taken something away, and you'll be able to sort of put this into practice as well. You calibrate Max the exactly same way as I showed you tonight. They're just, I've got a hot puck here, which you can just dial down really accurately. Unfortunately, we've only got a keyboard on a Mac, which we can't really dial that down as accurate. So Alison, what I did with the color checker, I picked up the droplet. I'll quickly try and show you again. I picked up the droplet. Okay, Alison, so I picked up the droplet, went and clicked on the gray card, which is here, and which produced the image here. Now on my screen, this is quite green, and now the skin tone on this one is a lot more accurate. So that's what I did, just pick her up, click on that, or you can use, there is one on the matrix, which is exactly the same gray. I think it's the third one down. And then that gives you an accurate color. Now you're thinking, how does that apply to the other images? You would just grab that, select all your images, and develop and sync them. So you just do that and hit sync, and they would all sync to the right color, just like that. Boom, 6 photos done. You can see the difference. You can see the difference. And there's your matrix there, and you can see the difference. Bang, choose that one. And now you've got the if you want to have warmer ones, you can change it over here as well. You've got so much flexibility, guys. So much flexibility. So it's worth going in and actually just having a good play around with them. But if you want to get into it seriously, I only received this on Monday, so I made sure my Calibrite profile software was up to date. Stuck it on, and I was just like, this is really child's play, and that's what you want it to be, because some people don't want to geek out too much. They just want to get the job done, which I completely understand. And I'm just looking at this. Oh, sorry. Can I only use gray cards to look for the right skin color? No, you can use it in all situations. It's not just about skin color. That's just because it's the type of I mainly photograph people. I use gray cards when I did the food as well. So that's what it does. Sorry if I was a bit quick there, Alison. I hope but you will be able to have a recording of this as well. People have got different ways of doing things. That's cool. What works for you? This is just the way I sort of demonstrated, and it works for me. Now, Chris has asked, and a few people have asked this, why don't I use the BenQ's own calibrating system, which is built in? I just find, for me, this system works better for the results I want. And it has got built-in calibration system, but because I'm using dual monitors as well, I want them to be exactly the same. Okay, so color checker, guys, I'll go over one more time. Don't get too hung up on it. Color checker is like a reference card for you when you take a photo in each different lighting situation. So if you're outside, take a photo of that. If you're going inside, take a photo of that lighting situation, then use that. We'll come back to that and use that in that lighting situation. Take that into Lightroom, highlight as I've showed you, and then for each lighting situation, click that color check on the gray card, and that will white balance all of them when you sync them. That's how it works. You've got like a master photo. Think of it as your master photo, and you've made the adjustments on that, and then you're selecting everything else and syncing on that. So there's lots and lots of questions, guys. I'll answer one more, and then it'll be the end. But thank you so much for hanging about, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Wow, there's amazing points. Right. There's been some great answers coming in there as well from, is the white balance dropper in Capture One? I'm not a Capture One user there, Harry, but I'm sure there'll be something similar in there that you can do. But thank you so much. If you want to follow me on my socials, guys, please do. That would be absolutely incredible. I really, really appreciate that. It would be nice to see some new faces. There's my socials. I also run a podcast called Talking Shot, which you can have a look. That's spelled SHOT. But thanks again. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging about. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks, guys.